Hello, everyone. I pray you're well. In light of recent events where the United States Delta Force successfully captured the president of Venezuela, Maduro, and his wife, many Catholics are questioning about whether this capture, which was directly ordered by President Trump, was a just action. Now, no practicing Catholic is actually upset that this dictator who has done many horrible crimes against humanity is deposed from power, but many are concerned that the means of this deposition were taken unjustly. And because the church teaches that the ends do not justify the means, many Catholics believe that this capture should not have taken place, even if the end result was good. But there are also many other Catholics who emphasize the criminal abuses of power that Maduro has committed, and how Maduro has sent illegal drugs into our country, has cracked down on the Catholic faith, has hurt his own people immensely, and they argue that he was justly deposed and that this deposition was in line with Catholic teaching. The question of tyrannicide, or the deposing and killing of a tyrant, has been debated in the church for centuries. So in this relatively quick video, I am not going to give my personal opinion yet, as I am still forming it, but I want to lay out what the church, through her doctors, has taught about tyrannicide, and let you all decide about whether the actions taken by President Trump fit the church's criteria. In this video, I will be using tyrannicide to refer to both the deposition and or killing of a tyrant together, because most theologians writing on the subject lived at a time where killing was expected with the deposition, but the ethics of tyrannicide applies to both, even if both are not used. So it seems from the get-go that the magisterium has condemned tyrannicide and the deposition, because in Pope Blessed Pius IX's Syllabus of Errors, one of the condemned propositions is number 63, that it is lawful to refuse obedience to legitimate princes and even to rebel against them. This was condemned. The Council of Constance in 1415 also condemns a similar proposition. It condemns the view that any vassal or subject can lawfully or meritoriously kill and ought to kill any tyrant. So it seems that the church has completely condemned tyrannicide without exception, right? Not exactly. The church, particularly through two of her greatest theologians, St. Thomas Aquinas and Francisco Suarez, have stated that there are two types of tyrants. The first is tyrants by oppression, and the second is tyrants by usurpation. Tyrants by oppression are leaders who have come to power legitimately and legally, but they use their lawfully given power arbitrarily, unjustly, and oppressively. These tyrants, in Catholic view, are much harder to overthrow because they have acquired power justly, and no private citizen, group of citizens, or even a handful of legitimate government officials can remove him. But the community as a whole, under a legitimate authority, must, by means of law, remove him after confronting the tyrant, and only after can they act against him if he refuses to go. An example of this would include, since President Donald Trump legitimately won the election, if he were to act so badly as a tyrant, it would take all of Congress and the community of America as a whole to justly remove him. So if a tyrant of... moving on from that, we have tyrant by usurpation. A tyrant by usurpation is a leader who acquires power illegitimately, unjustly, and illegally. In a way, he is not a valid leader at all. Now, St. Thomas Aquinas teaches that if the normal means of law cannot be used to rid the community of this tyrant, primarily because he himself does not respect the law, then the community could, and in a way should, depose or kill the tyrant if they fit this eightfold criteria. First, they are in fact a tyrant by usurpation, not oppression. Second, the deposing or killing of a tyrant must be necessary to end the illegitimacy of the government and restore legitimate authority. Third, there is no higher authority available who is able or willing to depose the tyrant. 4, that there is little to no probability that deposing the tyrant will result in a greater evil than allowing the tyrant to remain. 5, the abuses committed must be so extreme that they merit this intervention, not merely bad laws, but extreme abuses that hurt the common good as a whole. 6, all other peaceful means have been exhausted. Second, the public intention must be for the sake of the common good and not merely personal gain. And 8, the goal of the deposition must have its primary end the restoration of legitimate government, not merely the killing of a tyrant. This criterion is a mixture of both St. Thomas and Suarez's views, just for the sake of simplicity. Now, there are some nuances. Suarez seems to believe that it is almost always impermissible for a private citizen to depose of a tyrant of any type, while St. Thomas Aquinas and Cajetan argue that private citizens, by direct or indirect permission of the law, can in fact depose the tyrant by usurpation, and that he who kills a tyrant to free his country is praised and rewarded. Now, there are many other minor factors to consider in our current modern situation, but these are the main principles that we first have to consider when addressing Maduro's capture as Catholics. So now, looking at this eightfold criteria of just tyrannicide and the two different forms of a tyrant, do you think that Catholics should support the deposition of Maduro by President Trump? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks.